Welcome inside Manhattan Beach Studios. I'm Victoria Dennis alongside Meg Burgdorf, and joining us is three-time medalist on the World Tour and current reigning AVP League champion and Tiger alumna out of LSU, Toni Rodriguez.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hey.
Do you have more than 3 medals?
I do have 4.
You have 4.
One with Savvy in the pause.
Yes, but it was the 3 that I got hung up on that you earned with Molly Shaw, which we will get to that. And that was back-to-back tournaments, all the cardio.
Yeah, yes.
Let's start
Long
from
3
the
weeks.
beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of juniors that are, fans of you now, watching you through your career, and it started at LSU.
Yes, started at LSU. I actually never played beach growing up, so I am fairly new to the scene. But yeah, I started at LSU, played indoor there, redshirted my first year, then played 4 years there. I got injured, was thinking about crossing over to beach when I was still indoor, but then got injured, and so just waited until I was completely done with my indoor career to switch over in 2019, where I had my first season. And then I filed for a medical redshirt and got granted it, which is
Amazing.
crazy. And then I had another season on the LSU beach team, and then COVID hit, so then I had a COVID year.
Got it.
So I was in
Racked up
college.
all the
7
years.
years, is it?
7 years, yes.
Did you play for Fran at LSU?
I did play for Fran.
She recruited me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And she also was the head coach at the Vegas Thrill for the
Yes.
PVF League.
Yes.
Yeah, she's now doing a director role. She's the GM now, but
Yeah.
Fran's awesome.
Yeah, love Fran.
Yeah.
Love Fran. Still stay in contact with her, and yeah, I think she's an amazing coach. It's crazy she's like done coaching completely, but yeah, I was stoked to see that she got that job though at Vegas.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I see her pretty often actually.
That's awesome.
She's doing great.
That's so awesome.
I'll tell her you say hi.
Yeah, tell her I say hi.
So you had 7 years of collegiate athletics, which my hat is off to you. I did 5, and you couldn't pay me to do more than 5. Maybe because it was all on the indoor side, like I didn't have the switch up. I almost went to Florida State, but that's a whole other story.
That would've been fun.
I know I was supposed to play with Tori Paranagua and Vanessa.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had my apartment, I had my papers signed, like the whole thing, but I ended up going to play overseas. I digress. You played a long time in college. And then now you're navigating the sand pretty well on the pro side. How is that moving out to California?
Yeah, for anyone that asks, I usually tell them that I didn't really know much. Laurel Weaver is actually the first person that really ever reached out to me to play. I remember seeing her at the national championship when I was completely done after we lost, and she came up to me. She's like, "Hey, really like your game. I've been recruiting you. I mean, I've been scouting you. I would love to play with you sometime, like in California, whatever." And so then I just had back and forth conversation with her. And then I ended up moving into her house that she had. She had an open bedroom. And yeah, I decided to come out here. Didn't know who I was really playing with, who I was training with. Didn't know who I was going to have as my coach. It just was like, I'm going to figure it out. Bye, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
But that's a big jump, and there's a lot of people across the country that are weighing up those options and opportunities. Do I make the jump to California?
Yeah.
How do I financially wing it? Who do I play with? The whole partnership battle.
Yeah.
So what are some of those little nuggets along the way that looking back you say, that was a good one to do? Maybe don't do that one.
Yeah, I think definitely having some type of connection before just jumping ship. Like Laurel was able to like help me kind of start getting into trainings, and then you start meeting people. I also think like having a job, like knowing a job that you could potentially do before moving here. Obviously, we all know it's expensive as heck to live here, and so I immediately started trying to find club volleyball jobs. And one of my first jobs was with Elite Beach Volleyball, which is no longer a club here, but now I'm working for Strandside, which is really awesome. But yeah, just having a job lined up because you'll probably live paycheck to paycheck for just a little while. And then other than that, just putting yourself out there, I think, is like the biggest thing when you first move out here to play professional beach volleyball. Like if you're not reaching out to people, even if they don't know who you are, like doesn't matter, like just put yourself out there. I think that's one of the biggest things. And for full circle, I actually met Geena Urango before I even moved out here when she was partners with Benny. They actually came by LSU because Benny played at LSU, which is kind of cool, the connection there. And I ended up meeting them when I was on the indoor team. And then when I came to California, Geena was also one of the first people I reached out to. And she was one of the first people that invited me to do anything. Train. I just specifically remember she invited me to play fours with some of like the pro girls. And I was just like, I'm with like all these pros. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And so like full circle, now that I'm playing with her, it's just been really awesome. So, but yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
This last year of 2024 was quite the calendar year for you.
Yeah.
You played for San Diego Smash. We've now had all 4 San Diego Smash athletes on grit, Miles and Chase. We had Geena on when you were overseas busy winning volleyball games.
Yeah.
And now we've had you. So you played for San Diego Smash in the AVP League. Y'all were 8th in the league, last out of 8 teams. And then you won the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty crazy to looking back. I think we just kind of were like, we had so much time between our first 2 and then our last 2. So we just sat at that spot for so long. I think we just had those 3 weeks to kind of just like fester in the like being like angry and mad and like just being like, no, we're gonna like go to work, we're gonna put in the time, we're gonna figure this out. And I think going into the last 2 weekends, we were kind of like, we have nothing to lose. Let's just go play. Let's have fun. Let's be the best team. And I think that that's something with this new format that teams didn't necessarily do. Like we decided to like meet up with our guys' teams. We decided to like do stuff outside of just train and like be like, okay, good luck in your game. Okay, good luck in your game. Like we actually like made a point to like meet up and like talk and do fun things. So I think going into this year, like we plan to do the exact same thing. Like we met 2 weeks ago for lunch and yeah, just like talking about the year and like what we want to do and how we want to grow our fan base and yeah, so it's just been really fun.
That's so exciting. And it's team chemistry, right? Because now you're representing San Diego Smash, and the 4 of you.
Yeah.
And it starts off the court and then bleeds onto the court.
Yeah.
You and Geena are different characters, but you mesh so well together. How was that process like from the beginning of your partnership?
I will say after AVP Huntington, I think we were both a little bummed, you know, because it was so much pressure to even get into the league, and taking a 9th in Huntington, we were kind of like, oh no, you know, like it's kind of like took us back a little bit. And so I think we had, again, so much time to kind of develop this team from Huntington to Manhattan Beach. But I think one big thing with me and Geena is working with our sports psych. Dr. J, he's absolutely amazing. I'm sure you guys have heard of him or know him.
He was on the show.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was a big turning point for us going into Manhattan Beach. We both worked with him multiple times that week. And then obviously we knew how much was riding on that specific tournament. And I think just like working with him leading up to the tournament took so much weight off of our shoulders and just kind of allowed us to play. And then we took our best finish, 3rd, which was just so awesome. And then going into Chicago, I think we just kind of rode that high as well. And we're just like, we just have to keep doing what we've been doing. And yeah, we solidified our spot in the league, and that was freaking awesome. So I think Geena is definitely the best partner I've ever played with, just as far as like all aspects. She's so level-headed, so grounded, and just somebody you can really, really rely on, not just on the court, but off the court. And now she's one of my closest friends, and it's just been such a fun journey to play with her.
What would you say your personality is on the court, and is it different from off the court?
I think we're kind of the same on and off the court. Like Gina's super calm and like chill, but she'll get like a little fired up sometimes. Like I think that's similar off the court too. She's super chill. She's super funny and goofy as well. And then for me, like I feel like on the court I'm super passionate and fiery and like, but like that's why we work so well, because she's so calm. And then like off the court, I'd say we're kind of, I mean, I'm pretty similar as well. Like funny, goofy, super passionate, emotional.
Well,
So,
I love your reels and the TikToks and the
yeah.
Instagram presence that you two
Yeah.
have had. It's so fun and funny to watch you guys flourish. Talking about a little bit more technical volleyball side, you've really made waves coming out and playing as a blocker, and defense has been pretty solid on your side of the net. What's a piece of advice for a junior when it comes to blocking specifically?
I think one thing I've had to learn as a blocker is that even if I'm not blocking balls, I am putting Geena in the best position to dig a ball. Sometimes it feels like you're not doing anything for the game. But if she's digging a bunch of balls, then I'm technically doing my job, right? And then also, I think something else as a blocker, if you're feeling that way, like you're not doing much, I think something that I really have been focused on is my serving. Like, how can I influence the game if I'm not blocking balls? It's so hard, to do too much sometimes. So I just feel like something in the last 2 years I've focused on, right, is how can I be effective at the service line and put pressure on the other team.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're starting to see that on the international side. So taking the domestic experiences and success that you had, rolling it right over to the international stage,
Yeah.
what do you think is that differential when you go abroad playing?
Yeah, I think it is definitely a different beast playing internationally. Just kind of like looking back on last year, like I've played internationally since 22, and it's always like kind of a grind, especially being in the qualifier. I haven't played in a qualifier in a little bit, just on the domestic side of things. So I think just like putting your head down and just like once you get through the qualifier and get into the actual tournament, you can kind of breathe a little bit. But as far as like style of game, I feel like you kind of don't know what you're going to get with certain teams internationally. Like they are bringing just different aspects to the game. Obviously, I'm sure we're all watching. The jump set is now becoming a huge thing. So like just being prepared for weird random stuff. But I think as far as the international game goes, playing with a different ball, it's a challenge for
What's
sure.
the difference? What do you have to really think about when you're playing with the Mikases?
Uh, they just move different. So I think passing is a little bit more challenging. So, um, especially in the wind, the ball is going to move a lot more than the Wilson. Especially now that we're playing indoors, the Wilson actually does weird things indoor now too. So, but with Mikasa, I just feel like it kind of drops out pretty quickly. So like just being ready passing wise, and then as far as serving, I feel like I can actually I can manipulate the ball a little bit more. It's a little bit heavier than the Wilson, so you can kind of put a little more pace on it. And if you're top spinning, I feel like it's a little bit easier for me specifically, but I'm sure other people would say different.
This game always comes down to serve and pass. When you talk to coaches, when you talk to athletes, it's, oh, we want to win the serve and pass battle. What's one thing that you like to focus on in serve receive?
I think one thing for me is, you know, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot about my passing recently. When I'm thinking technical stuff, like I have different types of days. Technical days versus I'm not thinking at all. I'm just gonna go play. Technical days, I'm just thinking about putting my platform together late. I have a tendency to swing it to the ball. But if I'm just like in competition, I'm just thinking about if I pass this ball up to the middle of the court, my partner's going to give me a good set, and I can side out on command basically. So I feel like it just depends on the day. I'm really thinking about different things. So, but yeah, usually feet as well, moving my feet to the ball, especially if it's windy. So.
Moving back towards the international side of play, let's talk about your journey with Molly.
Yeah.
And on the road, you were in Asia for almost a month and winning those back medals. How was that process?
I think it was definitely a mental challenge for me. Just like kind of getting there, which is interesting because we won the league, and then that same night I hopped on a flight to China, And so I think for me, I had to really mentally, like, I was feeling like, oh gosh, like I had to go do this. So like when I got on once I stepped onto the flight, I decided like I'm gonna get my mind into a space of like, okay, I'm going to compete again. So but between the win and the shower and the ride to the airport, I was like, okay, you can feel however you want to feel right now, but when you step on this flight, like you're going to do your job and go and play and you're gonna have fun and it's gonna be fine, like once you get there. It was like the anticipation of like, oh gosh, like 3 weeks on the road, this long flight, all of these things, you know. But once I got there, it's exactly kind of what happened. Like I was like, okay, like I'm here, I'm ready, I'm excited. It was my first time playing with Molly, so we actually didn't train that much leading up to it. So it was like, I feel like we just kind of went into it with no expectations, which is almost better anytime you're playing to just have no expectations, because then you don't put the pressure on yourself to perform at a really high level. And so I think the first tournament was actually interesting. They pushed it up a day, the qualifier. So we played one match and then we played one match, I believe is how it went. But we had to qualify. So again, going back to the bottom, starting at the bottom and then having to work your way through is not ideal. But once we got through the qualifier, I feel like we kind of it was kind of smooth sailing. And playing with Molly was pretty easy. I think we did a really good job communicating before even going on the road, like what we expected from each other and how it was going to work and the dynamic and all of those little things. We knew we couldn't train a lot together, but okay, how can we talk about all the things that actually really matter besides the skill? Because we know we could put our skill set together, it'd be really good. So I thought we did a really good job just kind of like going into it, talking about a bunch of things, and yeah, it was just really fun, honestly. And I was riding the high of the obviously the AVP League Championship.
Just put it
So.
right into the next tournament.
Yeah.
We had Molly on as well, and she gave her whole perspective of everything and brought the medals in because I asked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, and she was like, yeah, I let Toni know that like this isn't a vacation, even though James, my husband, is coming with us. Like we're there for the volleyball. Like it's volleyball first.
Yeah.
So
I thought what was really cute after our first tournament, Molly actually wrote me a note saying like, I'm so happy we won this medal. Like, thank you so much for playing with me. You know, all this stuff. I like still have it. And I just think it was crazy. Like literally going into the next tournament, we like won another medal. And it was just like, whoa, like we just did that.
Did you get another card?
No. But then like I don't know, we just kept going and like we just kept learning and we just kept figuring the pieces out. And again, going into the third tournament, like again, we had to qualify for every single one of these. So
yeah, because your points didn't trickle over enough. Yeah.
So every one we signed up for, we were sitting in the quali. So it was like we kind of had to start back at zero and then figure out a way to kind of like get through that, which is like just fun in itself, like a challenge that I feel like we both like a challenge. So I think that's really fun. Playing with her, we're kind of similar in that we both bring a lot of fire and passion, but I feel like we did a really good job of balancing each other out when we needed to on the court, which was like a cool thing. But yeah, and then going into the championship, I will say that one was a grind for I think both of us. We were feeling the 3 weeks on the road. At that point, we were both tired, we were both exhausted. And I remember the semifinal match, neither one of us were feeling very good. Even after the match, we were both kind of breaking down a little bit, like, oh, we got one more. And we went back to the hotel, recovered, and came back. And I got served every ball, which was the first time the whole 3 weeks. And I was mentally like, I remember being in the match talking to myself out loud. Like that's how physically and mentally fatigued I was. But I was just like, you just have to finish this. You can do this. But like I remember talking to myself and even going into a timeout. Molly was trying to talk to me and I was like, I just need a few minutes to myself. And like I was literally just like in my head thinking like, you can do this. It's gonna be okay. Like you got this. Like just like positive self-talk. But yeah, the 3 weeks was a big grind.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, it's one for the books and the record books.
Yeah.
3 consecutive qualifiers, 3 consecutive medals. I don't know the last time a pair has done that on the world tour. Maybe Anders and Christian when they first started, but I don't think so. I would have to check the facts, but I'm sure if you're watching this and you're a volley nerd like us, go ahead and leave a comment. We'd love to see it. But very exciting, Tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the success around the qualifiers because there's a lot of new pairs. You know, younger guys and girls teams are going to the futures, and you're risking a lot of money, a lot of time flying. Again, might not train all the time together because you're in different locations. So, what are like the logistics that helped you guys succeed in the qualifiers? Do you arrive early? Like, how do you eat? How do you shape that day to come out of that qualifier and then go into that main draw?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at those 3 tournaments specifically, I know that me and Molly both arrived to China the day before the qualifier, which is not ideal for me specifically. Like, I really like a lot of time to recover, at least 2 days before I play if I'm traveling internationally. But we didn't necessarily have that. So I think for me leading up to that first qualifier, I was really just thinking about how can I recover my body as fast as possible, drinking a lot of fluids, electrolytes, because you get super dehydrated on those long flights. And then just like finding the best meals possible. Obviously, you're going to a bunch of foreign places that you don't really know if you're going to get really good food or not. But yeah, I think going into honestly all 3, we just focused on how can we get most recovered, because then going deep into a tournament like that, it's really hard to like kind of get yourself going again. So I think, yeah, we would leave as soon as the tournament was done. We were leaving to go to the next place and just get there as soon as possible so we could recover, find good meals, electrolytes, all of those good things. We actually didn't have medical staff for these 3 events either, which
Wow, that's
I
impressive.
was very concerned about, but we somehow figured it out. We did find massagers along the way.
Mhm.
But yeah, honestly, looking back though, going back to that question, in 22, my first ever FIVB, playing with Zanamuno. It was in Australia. Didn't have a lot of money. Didn't really, yeah, I just didn't have a lot. I just put it all out there though and decided like, this is what I really want to do with my life. And I remember just talking with Scott Davenport and him being like, you have to invest to get to where you want to go. And I'll never forget that, because if I wouldn't have done that tournament, I would have never, like, if I would have never invested in that, I don't know if I really would have played internationally. It was kind of like a leap of faith. She asked me to play. I was like, sure, let's do it. Even though I literally probably had like $10,000 in my bank account. That sounds like a lot, but that's like nothing to live here, to train here, to do anything here, and to travel internationally. We're looking at like a $2,000,
Mhm.
round trip,
Minimum.
at least
Yeah.
round trip. That's just for the flight. So I definitely put a lot on the line going to that tournament, and we ended up getting, it was a futures, we ended up getting a bronze. And so at the end of the day, it was all worth it. Yeah, we only made $200 or
Right.
whatever it was, but it wasn't about the it wasn't about the money at that point. It was about the points, right? With the international game, it's all about how can you gain points. And so I know for people just starting out, it's really hard to make that leap of and go and play, because you're not going to make money. So at that point, it's like, okay, I'm going to invest my money in these points.
Mhm.
And that's like a hard thing to wrap your mind around. But if you're really wanting to do it, I would definitely encourage people to, yeah, get there early, get your body right, and just like mentally prepare yourself to get through the quali. Because once you're through the quali, it's you can relax a
And you
little
get more
more.
points
Yeah,
because really being a professional beach volleyball athlete, it's managing all the points domestically,
it's all
internationally.
about points.
And then they really do drive your decision making in what events you're picking to go to.
Yes.
So kind of looking at 2025 domestically with the league is changing, in
Yeah.
scheduling and other pro events and then the world tour, how do you make decisions on which events you guys are going to go play in or not?
I think for me and my team, for AVP, I plan to kind of be at. There's not a lot of overlap internationally,
I don't think there's
which
any overlap.
yeah, I think that they did a really good job
Mhm.
I think the AVP did a really good job planning around the international schedule, which is really nice. I think for me, my goal for going into 2025 is to hopefully play well enough to where I'm only playing elites. That would be ideal. to not have to play any more challengers, but we'll see what happens. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the schedule. I'm going to be playing the first 4 events, so a challenger and then the 3 elites. And those are all before the AVP season. Kind of see how I do in those internationally, and then based on those performances, I'll kind of see where I need to maybe play a couple more events, maybe throughout the AVP season. If I'm feeling like I really need to get my points up potentially, or if I'm feeling good, maybe I don't need to play until after the AVP season. But ideally, obviously making world champs as well would be the goal. So having to play at least 6 events, either challenger or elite. So
Who are you playing with on the international tour?
I am playing with Kylie DeBerg, giving it a little run on defense. Gonna see what happens.
Let's go.
I like it.
Yeah, I've always been a blocker. I think I'm a very high level blocker. Most people are probably thinking, what are you doing? But for like 2 years now, I've kind of thought about what I wanted to do for 28. And I've always had this thought of like, oh, maybe I could be a big defender and pick up a big blocker. Like, what would be the harm in that? And so I've kind of been on this idea for a little bit. And so Kylie, we talked about it last year a little bit. It never felt right. And then at the end of last year, she proposed it again to me, and we kind of were like, yeah, let's try it out. And with this year being the first year of the quad, I feel like it's kind of the year to, if you're going to be experimental, just do it. And ideally, I hope it goes well, and it's something that we can continue for the future.
Yeah, and another LSU.
I know, throwing
connection
it
there
back to
too.
the Tigers.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, good. That's very exciting. And you stand about 6'1", right?
6'1", yeah.
6'1" defender, which I think is great because you're able to cover like that much more ground potentially.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we saw like before, like there used to be a lot of like, you would switch block and all that fun stuff. But then it got to this like big blocker, small defender. But
Yeah.
like
Too big?
big girls can play defense too.
Yeah,
Like, hello.
Big.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, middle back defense, outside hitter, baby.
It's rotations. Yo.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like
so
if you train it, like
Yeah.
you can do it. Like
Yeah.
coaches like would put me in a box sometimes and be like, "Oh, you're 6'3", like you're going to be a middle." And like that was my like freshman sophomore year of high school, and then I eventually wasn't outside, and like you have to learn how to pass, you have to learn to play defense, especially like on the international side for indoor as well. Like you can't like get subbed out of a game. Really, there's like 0 subs in international volleyball.
Right.
Not really. There's like 6, but there's a lot of rules around it. So anyways, it's awesome that you're playing defense, and I think that's really exciting. Like it's just like continuing to like elevate the game.
Yeah, I think it's fun to see the game from a different perspective, and just become a more well-rounded. Even if I decide to switch back to blocking, I'll still have gained something from this experience regardless. So I'm really, really excited and feel like it's going to go well. So.
Yeah, and you learn from both too, because like if you don't have experience doing both, then like defenders, I feel like sometimes they don't know that like they see different angles than like we see blocking at the net on the sand, and it's like even though I'm closer to the ball, like you can see things a bit better, like
like a full picture.
A full picture.
Yeah.
You get to be the quarterback of defense. It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, right.
That's so fun. AVP league structure for 2025.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think it is pretty gnarly to qualify. I will say I'm very grateful to not be in that position. I do think the one-day qualifiers, 16-team single elimination tournaments, those are, they're brutal. But I think that the AVP wants the best people on their tour and in their league, and so I again would not want to have to do it if I was other people. But I think it's going to be great regardless of whatever happens. I think the AVP is trying to figure out how they want to continue to progress the sport, and I think it can only continue to go up. I love the concept of representing cities. I hope we can get more fan base this year and really like promote and market and get people to the events. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Championships are going to be in Chi-Town,
Yeah.
Chicago.
Chi-Town.
We lose a heritage stop there, but they gain the championships. It's always fun to play in Chicago.
Yeah, it's always fun to get a pizza.
It's always fun to get a deep dish pizza. Priorities, people. Priorities.
I mean. I will say I'm just excited to see how it kind of who ends up in the league. You know, I mean, there's a lot of switches on the men's side,
and on the women's side too.
Yeah, there's been
Alex and April retired.
Yeah.
Kelly is now with Molly Shaw, which means that she is not guaranteed a spot. She has to requalify because you have to come back with the same partner. Right. So there's like 6 spots open on the women's side, 5 spots open on the men's side because of all the partner switches. Like Trevor is with Phil, and because Trevor switched partners, he's not guaranteed a spot in the league.
Yep. Crazy.
Girl, you're tell me.
I'm just excited to see it all. I'm just excited to see it all.
You get to sit on top of your throne at the top as the reigning champ and be like,
I'm honestly just grateful to be in the league again. So.
But that's what 7 years in college will get you.
Yeah, make sure you stay in college.
Any advice to those collegiate female athletes looking to graduate, making that jump, you know, looking back, what's the tips and the tricks for them?
Yeah, I think something that can propel you faster is finding a partner that's already maybe a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Experienced, yeah. When you come out of college, finding a partner that maybe is already experienced on the tour that will pick you up and bring you along for the ride. I think that that's one of the easiest ways to get integrated into the tour. And I think it's kind of a bummer with the two first tournaments to qualify being during the college season, which is like unfortunate. But I know that the Contender Series provides a decent opportunity for people to go get points. And so hopefully looking at the next year, those athletes that are coming out of college this year can then eventually get into the league.
Right, and that's going to be a really important summer activity for them if they're looking to graduate college and make a go at it next spring. That's really when their pro career starts.
Yeah, and I would also encourage athletes that are in college that want to play pro to start playing before you're done with your college career. Start getting points before you're done. If you start at 0 when you come out, that's going to be it's going to be hard to be picked up by an experienced person. But the first person that's coming to mind is like a Piper Furch. Like she's been playing some of those Contender Series. Like she played with Molly Shaw last year in Virginia Beach. Like she's getting points by playing a couple events. And then when the next year comes, she can actually get into events as well. So I think if you're wanting to play professionally, definitely starting sooner than later. I know for me, I started playing AVP in 2019, or my first event was in 2019. I played 2 qualifiers, one in Hermosa, and the second one I picked up Aurora Davis, who was experienced at the time, was doing very well in her career. She picked me up and played with me in the Manhattan Beach qualifier in 2019, and we ended up qualifying. That was back when the freeze was still a thing.
Oh, gosh.
And we were down in our qualifying match, and then we came back and won in the freeze. That was awesome. But, yeah, I just think it's super beneficial to be picked up by somebody that's already experienced and developed and has, like, a name for themselves. So,
yeah. What's one thing that you want people to know? Who is Toni Rodriguez?
That's a good question. I should have been thinking about that one. I should have sent that one over.
I should have sent that over to you. Plot twist on the hot seat here.
I think one thing I would want people to know about me is that I am always going to try and be my most authentic self. And whether that's on the court or off the court, I hope I can make you feel good and yeah, make you laugh maybe.
Tick.
Yeah, and you do. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for coming on.
You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
So fun.
Yeah.
And good luck this season.
Yeah, we're rooting for you.
Internationally, then the
Woo.
league. Woo.
Yeah, all the volley.
Yeah.
Back-to-back
We literally
belts.
just came from practice. So
Yeah, how's my hair look?
gorgeous as ever, always.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Big Toe.
Don't stub it.
TAUX. Yeah, right.
Perfect. Well, we're going to have you on again sometime
Perfect.
in the busy schedule of the season coming up, but
Awesome.
looking forward to that next
Thanks.
time. Thank you for
Thanks.
coming on.
Thanks.
Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Keep it gritty out there.
Boom, boom, make that